Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, and I have a special treat for everybody today. DaMarkus Lodge is joining the show. I told DaMarkus on there, and I wasn't even lying. I sent a picture to prove it. He was my favorite member of the NWO whenever he played at Ole Miss. And, you know, playing wide receiver in the SEC, and especially with that group, what was that like?
Oh, man, it was awesome. Just playing in the SEC obviously was great. You know, you compete at the highest level. But when you really talk about competing, the guys that we had, AJ, DK, we had Alex Weber then, and Elijah Moore was a youngin. We started off with Van Jefferson in the group. He ended up transferring out. And I know it's a little bit cliche, but the saying that, you know, you're only as strong as your weakest link, it really is true, man. We got guys that came to work every single day and it was all about work. So it made you kind of get on your game in all areas of life, whether it was class, because, you know, AJ, DK, those guys were scholars as well. They weren't just athletes. And, you know, so it just made you compete with everything you do. Sometimes it'll go a little overboard, you know, where we won't talk for a couple of days just because of that competitive nature. But it was awesome, man. It taught me a lot of things about myself, but also about, you know, how to come to work every day and how to just overcome whatever obstacles in your way just to get better with a group of guys that you really love.
Yeah, and it was it's a weird situation because you get the benefit of staying through the hard times with Ole Miss. All of the success that they're doing right now, there's a whole lot for players like you that stayed through the hard times. What was that like whenever it happened, whenever it came down and you decided to stay with Ole Miss?
It was pretty easy for me, I can say. Like I said, just because of the guys that we had, I had an opportunity to go. Kyler Murray was a good friend of mine. He tried to get me out at OU or whatever. But just, man, me and AJ and DK, we got together and just basically told ourselves we committed to this. When something hard in life comes at you, you can't just quit on it. We took ourselves and said we're going to make this our team, our offense, and we're going to do everything we can to try to keep everybody that was available to leave to stay. So it was a pretty easy decision, man. We wanted to win. We wanted to play with each other. We wanted to compete at the highest level. And I think we did have been biased, but I think we had the best group in the country at the time. So I wouldn't have wanted to go anywhere else.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that group being in the best of the country with potentially this group, which has a chance to be really special as well. But I do have one question. And I don't know if it was in 2017 or 2018. There was a game played up in Nashville. It was a tight game at the very end. A pass to A.J. Brown that looked like a catch. It felt like a catch. The officials ruled it not a catch. What happened there? What was the reaction to that?
That was tough because obviously on our end, we thought we won the game, man. They played the replay over and over and over again, and I don't know what the rules were then, but I mean, he took 2 steps and turned his body and kind of made a football move. He possessed it through the ground. And as soon as he hit the ground, you know, probably 2 seconds later coming up, the ball slipped out. I thought it should have been a touchdown. Everybody else did, but it was definitely a very emotional moment. And it was one of those things where it's just everybody against Ole Miss, the world versus Ole Miss, man. I don't think they wanted us to walk out of there with that win that night. But that was probably one of the most heartbreaking moments that I've had in my career.
Yeah, and I imagine all Ole Miss fans are right there with it because we've debated catch, no catch forever because what it looked like it happened to me was basically the defenders kept trying to get the ball out of his hand all the way through the ground. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a situation of surviving the catch. It was basically the defender that pulled it out after he went down.
Yep, and that was a tough one, man. And obviously that team that around that time, we were pretty banged up. I know I had a high-grade ankle sprain at the time that I was playing through. We had some injuries that guys weren't able to go out there and play. And we just gave our all. AJ was a little banged up, and it just kind of sucked, man, how that played out. But, yeah, it was definitely heartbreaking.
Oh my goodness. I just had to ask that question. But let's turn the page a little bit to this year. This 2024 unit. I think Trey Harris has a chance to be the best wide receiver in the nation. I look at Juice Wells. I think that he has a chance to really pop on this wide receiver core. Jordan Watkins has turned into an Elijah Moore type slot wide receiver that he's developed into that. And then you have Deion Smith, who is the best wide receiver in the country coming in. And he has unbelievable ability. And Marquise Willis, which is Malik Willis's brother, coming in to play that. And then you have the young guys like Ayden Williams and Caden Lee and those guys coming in. This is a pretty stacked unit, don't you think?
Oh, man, I think it's probably the most stacked that we've been since our group. And like you said, just to go through those guys and everything, Trey Harris is definitely going to be a star this year. I mean, he was a star last year, but I think he's going to take his game to another level. And the thing about Trey that people don't understand or realize that what makes Trey good is not the 50-50 ball and big receiver. Trey knows the game. He sees it through the quarterback eyes. He played quarterback in high school. So he's able to connect with Dart and see things that, you know, the average receiver probably wouldn't see pre-snap. So I think they have some type of connection there where they can kind of just see things. He look at the field through a quarterback eyes, and that's definitely an advantage because it's the difference between knowing the game and knowing the position. So I think Trey's going to kill it this year, man. Obviously with the talent that he has going up and being a big, strong receiver, he knows how to use his body and create separation. I think he's just a complete receiver in such a short time is crazy to me.
You know, we're some of the other receivers that have caught your eye that you might have seen something that maybe everybody else hasn't?
I mean, I think it's all out there on display, man. But Ayden Williams, I think, is going to be a star. We haven't let him loose yet, but he reminds me. Now, this is all opinionated. Some people might say you're dead wrong, but some people might say you're dead right. I think he's an AJ Green type of guy, man. He's a tall, lanky guy. He can beat you deep, but he can also get down and run a dig route, and he can take a slant and bring it in and be physical with you. And I think he has a complete package to his game as well that he don't even know yet. I don't think he's fully developed, which you can't be this early on. But Ayden Williams is going to be a star. I haven't watched much of Juice, but the thing that I did see that stood out to me just watching him play at South Carolina is the yak, man, yards after catch. I don't really know too much out of his game right now. I still have to sit down and watch, but I know that he can take the ball and make something out of nothing, especially after contact. So that's one big thing with me. And Jordan Watkins, it's crazy that you say the Elijah Moore because he is, you know, the slot receiver, shifty guy. He's a speed demon. But what surprises me is he can go play outside too. He can be an X and play big boy ball. It's just the way that our receivers are set up. He don't have to. But yeah, man, we got some guys, dude. I can go on and on about these guys. I love talking about them.
Wait a second. We got to back up a second. We got an inside-outside receiver little rivalry. It sounds like playing big boy ball outside.
I think you can. I think you can play big boy ball, man. And what I mean by that is, you know, most slots you get they can't go outside and make that 50-50 and be physical 100% of the game. You know, they make them go out there 2 or 3 plays and make a great catch and take a hit or two. But I think Jordan has a big enough body and he's physical enough for him to be able to go to the outside if need be. And that's what I mean by that. Like he's still a speed guy. He's shifty, but I think he has the body type and the play style to actually go out there and play on the outside if they needed him to and if he wanted to.
You know, I think the reason for that is whenever he played at Louisville, they played him on the outside. He was an outside receiver. He had to learn how to play slot at Ole Miss.
See, I didn't even know.
And I was just joking about the outside and the inside thing. It's like it's a little bit of a rivalry. By the way, Ayden Williams, the player that he reminds me of, is kind of you.
Yeah, I would say that too. I would say that too, man. Yeah. He has a full complete package, man. But I would definitely agree with that. He definitely. I think a lot of my game I didn't really get to showcase as much. I was definitely a deep threat. Sideline, when the play breaks down, create something. But I think Ayden Williams is way better than what I was. And people don't know that yet, but I think he's definitely going to be way better than anything that I put out there.
Yeah, and I did a video early in the week, and I was like talking about the wide receiver, and I talked about the backups, the young kids, the Caden Lees, the Nareel Whites, the Ayden Williams, those guys, and I was like, Ole Miss doesn't play backups that often, so you might not see a whole bunch of them this year, but those guys are going to play a huge role in determining the quarterback that comes after Dart, the Austin Simmons, the Walker Howard. Those are the guys that they're throwing with, right?
Yep, they see them most of the time at practice. Like you said, the guys that are going to be playing are going to be playing, and they probably won't take many reps off in practice anything because those guys practice hard. So yeah, that is going to be a very big determining factor on who's going to be the next quarterback. Obviously, it's a competition, but you're dead on with that. Those are the two quarterbacks that they're throwing with, and both of them are crazy talented.
Yes. I talked with somebody the other day that told me, he's like, hey, Austin Simmons is a freshman, but he is the one that is organizing throwing parties inside the IPF to get people to come down. This guy is like a machine, nonstop work. And then whenever I hear that, I was like, this quarterback competition that's coming in 12 months, I don't know if Ole Miss fans are ready for it.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be hard whether you want Austin in there, whether you want Walker in there. I think we'll be okay regardless of which one, but it's definitely gonna be hard on the fans, man. Because they both compete. They want to show up, they want to work. And it kind of reminds me, not saying that the guys before didn't have this, but it kind of reminds me of Chad Kelly, the way he handled the offseason. Because when Chad went in through, we probably had 2 days off during the week in the offseason where we weren't doing the extra work. He will call every single guy, from the last guy on the depth chart to the top guy. And he took that iPad with him everywhere. It was nonstop work with Chad. And those two kind of remind me of that Chad era, just wanting to get better, and not just wanting to get better with one or two receivers, wanting to get better as a whole unit. So it's going to be a battle, and I can't wait to see it. I haven't seen much of either one of them or talked much with them, but I'm definitely going to be up there this spring.
Going back to 2018, Jordan Ta'amu, Matt Corral playing quarterback, your guys, they just both signed into the UFL. They're going to continue going. Matt's down in Birmingham. Talk about seeing Matt Corral like in that first 2018 fall whenever he just emerged.
Oh, man. We knew he was going to be a star. Obviously, he had some growing to do as far as play-wise, not taking a big play all the time and just learning how to play the quarterback. But as far as arm talent and being able to put the ball at anywhere on the field and throw the ball from any angle was amazing to see. Matt came in from day one ready to work. You're talking about the morning runs or whatever, he was running with the skill guys. He wasn't running with the quarterbacks. He was wanting to compete with us and try to beat us in sprints. So it's just amazing when you get to see a kid come in that young and it's all about his business, but not just about his business. He has the talent to back him up. It's something amazing to see. And he knew his X's and O's. He knew the game of football.
Yeah. Talking about Matt Corral, I think it was 2018, the Egg Bowl. All of a sudden you look down – Matt Corral's getting into a fight in the end zone with the safety from Mississippi State. What's going through your mind seeing that happen?
The first thing I thought was, man, I love this kid. He's a warrior. He's gonna fight for his guys. And then the second thing that went through my head was, I'm not about to get off this bench and hurt my hand in this cold trying to fight these guys. So part of me was like, man, what you doing? And that was funny to me. But, man, just seeing – and that's another, attribute that he possesses, just that warrior mentality, not being scared of anything or anybody, just wanting to win and be better. And I think that's what brought in a lot of guys to follow him. Just that mentality of I got your back no matter what, no matter who it is. It could have been the biggest D lineman on the field, and Matt would have went at him for his guys.
I think Jaxson Dart has a little bit of that as well.
Yeah. I was hoping we got to talk about Dart because not saying his first, year or so he wasn't tough, but the way that he grew as a quarterback, as his mind, but the way that he was able to, fight through injuries and stand in the pocket and take hits and deliver the ball, man. I think that was the biggest part of his game to me. Like I said, I could be dead wrong, but I think the biggest thing to me when he elevated was, growing that toughness in him, that I'm not going to quit. Whatever it has to be done, it has to be done. I can stand in the pocket and see this hit coming, and I'm going to stay in there and deliver this thing. I think that was the biggest difference in my eyes between his game when he first came in and now.
When Ole Miss played LSU in 2023 this year, it was the last play of the third quarter, maybe the first play of the fourth quarter. Jaxson Dart is like a 3rd and 17 or something like that. Nothing's open. He just decides to take it up and run. And then he gets about 15 yards downfield and just hurdles over an LSU defender. And I'm like, Ole Miss isn't losing this game.
No, when stuff like that happens, man, you kind of just feel it, right off the bat. And I was sitting there like, I can't believe he just did that, but I'm so happy that he did. Because this, like I said, man, it's one of those things that the guys see. My quarterback is putting it all out on the line for me. There's no way I'm not going to do everything I can to make sure we win this game.
Yeah, and come to think of it, your class, you might have been there, were the first Ole Miss class to wear the white helmets whenever they came out, if I'm not mistaken. I think they broke the white helmets out for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Texas Tech.
What was it? Yeah, what was it like whenever they brought out that ice look?
We wanted to wear it every week, every single week. It's hard to beat that icy white, man, because you can do so many things with it. If you want to go all white with the blue gloves or all white with the red gloves, and it just make you feel better. That all white was the nastiest uniform that I think we could have had.
I don't know if you were there.
That was a moment.
You may have been gone by the time this one it may have disappeared, but the white jerseys with the blue numbers, I think they look so good and they just disappeared.
Yeah, I don't think I got to wear those, man. And I honestly, I don't know if I even remember them, but I'm going to go back and look after this, after we get off and see what's up with that.
Yeah, go back and look at the Ole Miss and Texas game in 2013.
Oh yeah,
that were all the white jerseys with the blue numbers.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go check that out. I think that was before me, and I don't think I got to wear those, but I'm definitely gonna take a look at that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what do you think Ole Miss's outlook is for 2024?
Obviously, on paper, man, we have the guys to do it all. I think what's going to determine it is this offseason, obviously. See how those guys come together and clash. I know they're going to work hard. They're going to work their butts off. They have no option with the coaching staff and the strength staff that we have. But I think the biggest difference is going to be, number one, how can we come together as a team and actually get better? And the extra work, I think, is going to be the determining fact, because I know when AJ and DK and all our guys are there, even before then, we would go down and have the defensive guys come in our route sessions and, all right, play cover 3, and we're going to run these routes against cover 3 to know when to speed up a little bit or when to take a little bit off of this dig. So I think it's going to be one of those things where the offense and defense have to get together in the offseason and actually work together and not just be a one-sided thing. Even with just, the coaching staff, we would go down to our defensive coordinator, Coach McGriff at the time, and, sit down with him and say, talk me through defense. Tell me how a defense works. So it's definitely going to be up to the guys in the extra work, not just the spring training, the extra work, and see how they handle that.
Yeah, it should be pretty cool because, like I said, basically everybody, it's hard to see somebody with a pick with Ole Miss blow 7th nationally. I mean, it's kind of kind of weird to see somebody that's been an Ole Miss fan for going on 50 years of my life, you know. But yeah, it's certainly cool. And I will say this was a bucket list moment, man. And I do appreciate you coming on the show.
Man, I appreciate you having me, because anytime, you know, I haven't been out that long, but, you know, removed from the game 4 or 5 years or whatever, whenever somebody wants to talk, you know, it's always an honor for me to, you know, I'm all for it every time. And this program gave me so much. So whenever I get a chance to speak good about it, I'm definitely willing to every time.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. DaMarkus Lodge, thank you so much, man. And we have to do this again.
Anytime, let me know. And thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate that. It's fun.